So I wanted to come up with some sort of a problem that's reasonably close to what you were doing this week. And so I came up with the idea of a program that would tell us what day of the year a certain date is. And so let's see. So this function, which is dayOfYear, says if you're given a list with the form day, month, year, so 3 elements in the list, then you return the day number. So 1 January of whatever year would be 1, 2 February would be 33, and so forth. But this does have to take into account leap years, and you can enter a 2-digit year, which is all this is right here, and it's assumed to be in the 2000s. If the list is not a legal date for whatever reason, then you raise a date value error. And I decided to write a separate function that would prompt the user for a date and turn it into a list. Okay, so it can be day, month, year, or month, day, year, and the month must be spelled out either as the full month name or the first 3 letters of the month. Day and the year must be numeric. If the string is not legal, then this raises a date format error. Now, when I was getting this ready, I realized that writing the documentation strings is a good step in preparing to make this video, but also I needed to write the test first. Why? Turns out writing the test is harder than writing the code, especially for this particular function. And so I decided I'd better go through that exercise first. Why is it harder? Because I actually have to figure out everything the program's going to do, and then I have to try to come up with a list of illegal inputs. So this test is divided into all the legal inputs and illegal inputs, and I just thought of another case here. Let's see, because the way I've formatted this, we're going to put it here. So it should be 6 June 2025. Okay, and that's illegal because there's only 2 letters in the month. So these are all legal strings that should get turned into these lists. These are illegal strings. There's no year, there's no month, there's no day. This has an extra part in the string. This has both day and the month as numbers, and this one, the month name is too short, as we pointed out. And then this one takes a list and turns it into a day of the year. And so I had to calculate what all these numbers were ahead of time, right? Otherwise, my test isn't too good. Now, is there a possibility that I calculated these wrong? In fact, I would say there's a strong possibility. So I may have to come back and fix my test. We'll see how it works. So I loop through these and I assert that this list gives me this number. And I was going to point out here, because this requires user input, there's this magic that you have to do called monkey patch. And I won't explain it particularly except to say that if you're going to use monkey patch, you provide it as a parameter to the function, which is really weird. And then, oh, actually, I know how they do that now that I think about it. Okay, never mind. And then here, when you call monkeypatch.setAttr with this magic incantation, this string is set up as input from the keyboard. And I just realized another problem here. I have to put the new line in here. So let's add the new line to each of these. And I need to do the same here. Oops. Okay, that didn't work right. My keyboard macros, which is what those are when I do that, are very sensitive to the format of the string. There's not a lot of intelligence in the keyboard macros, so I have to rewrite them when I change things. Okay, so it is as if the user typed this string at the keyboard when I use this invocation. All right, and so getDate with each of these strings should return these lists, and getDate with each of these strings should raise a date format error. Now, we haven't gone into exceptions and how they're tested and so forth, and so this is stuff you haven't seen yet, but I wanted to provide it to you as an illustration of how this works, and you can read up on this if you wish. Okay, so there's the test, and I made some changes to it, and if we run these, we would expect the test to fail, which they do, because I haven't written the functions yet, right? These are just pass. And these errors are modeled after the ones that were used in your assignment this week, in the code that was given to you. So there's nothing too magical about these. So let's write the one that does the user input first. Let's see if we can get it to pass that test. So we're going to say user input equals prompt as or and that doesn't really explain all of the possible formats, but it kind of helps. So DD means day, MMM means the month spelled out, and YYYY means the year. And it's not prompt, it's input, which I always seem to forget. Okay. And we're going to say return list equals user input dot split. And so if lane return list not equal to 3, raise date format error bad number of words. I don't know. And when it returns like that, it means I've typed something wrong here. Still need that. Okay. Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. Okay. So, if is number, is that the right? Let's come down here and say Python is number. That's not the right one. Is numeric? Nope. Numeric? Nope. Maybe it's string.numeric. So 123 dot is number. Is numeric? I guess I could just try and look this up, couldn't I? Ah, is numeric. All right. So we say if let's see, return list sub 0 dot is numeric Then, so the first element is supposed to be the day, right? Oh, it doesn't say what it returns. Oh. Okay, all right. So then return list sub 0 equals int return list sub 0. Okay, so if that's the case, we just have to turn it into a number. So now we need to check for if return list sub 1 is also a number, raise date format error both numeric return list, else return list equals that. Then we're going to say else if return list sub 1 dot is numeric temp equals return list sub 0 return list. Well, there's a different way to do this. So let's do this the Pythonic way. Okay, so return list sub 0 return list sub 1 equals, it needs a continuation character, return list sub 1 int return list sub 1 comma return list sub 0. So that's the Pythonic way to swap them. Else raise date format error both strings, both, how about if say non-numeric, and we'll just do that. And this should have been an elif. And that makes that a little cleaner. Let's see, we also need to check for if lame return list sub 2 is greater than 3, then we need to trim it, right? Return list sub 2 equals return list sub 2 0:2. I think that trims it correctly. Elif lame return list sub 2 is less than 3, date format error, month name too short. Return list sub 2. Okay, so I think that handles all of the cases. Return list. So let's write that out. Make sure I've written both. And let us test. Stir object has no attribute readline. Well, that's really nice. dayOfYear PY25. What on earth does that mean? So we've got a line number here, line 25. And if we look here, it's that. Did I do that wrong? Python input test. Okay. Please enter date as year. So that suggests I did something wrong with my monkey patch, is what I would see there. So let's see, let's come back to here and let's look at where I borrowed this code from. Monkey patch.set adder sysdadin string. Oh, I forgot this little invocation here. So I did this wrong. So this should be okay. So this is the user input equals string IO string. Come on. Undefined name string IO. That's not a good thing. And this isn't string, this is user input. Okay. From IO imported. So we need to do that here. Okay, from IO import string IO, and that gets rid of that. Okay, so now I need to do that here also. User input equals string IO string, because that's still my variable name, right? String, yep. And this is user input. Okay. Everything's written out. So let's try it again. Let's see. Assertion error. 1 January 2021 equals 1 January 20. That sounds like an error here. I've got list sub 2. Yep. This should be list sub 1. And So I need to turn the year into a number, which I also forgot to do. If let's see. Okay, so this does need to be a new if. If return list sub2 dot is numeric, return list sub2 equals int return list sub2, and of course that should be a paren, not a else raise date format error, year is non-numeric, return list sub2, and of course that means this one should be return list sub1. Okay, and that means that I need to add another test case here, which I didn't think of, which was 7 July 2026 \n. Okay, so that's another case I hadn't tested. Come on, if I'm going to spell it out all the way. Okay. So writing the code and the inadvertent error discovered another error case that I should have tested for. So sometimes you have this back and forth, right? Which one do I need to fix? In this case, I needed to fix both of them. It's because my test revealed an error, but it also showed a shortcoming in my code. Let's see. Okay. Why is that one complete? Oh, it's trailing white space. Okay. All right. So save everything out. Run it again. So it looks like assert 7 July 2015, which is this one, returned JU. How did it get that far, I wonder? Okay, where did I do my slice? Right there, 0, 1, 2. So that should always return 3 characters. And yet test get date failed. Because it seems like if it was trimming the month wrong, it should have failed long. Oh, this is the first one it actually trims. Ah, because these are all 3-letter months. Okay, so that's something that I need to watch for here. So it didn't trim correctly. So that says this needs to be 03 apparently. So let's try that. Did not raise class. Oh dear. So that means we got through all of that until at some point we didn't raise date format error. But this doesn't tell us which one. Huh. Well, that's kind of irritating, isn't it? So we don't know which of these was in error. Well, I guess we could try doing that. And let's try just that one and see if that raises the error. So that one passed. Okay. So now we're going to try that. One failed, one passed. Okay. One failed, one passed. Guess yeah, raising that doesn't help me much. Yep, come on. That passed. So we're narrowing in on where the problem is. They both failed. Okay, so 6 June 2025 did not fail the way it was supposed to. So let's see. If Ling is less than 3, we didn't return month name too short. Why not? Because I've still got the wrong index there. Okay, so this is a case of where using the index numbers led me into an error. And so I should have had named constants for these indices. So what do I mean by that? So I should have had month index equals 1. Let's see, day index equals 0. And year index equals 2. And then so I that way, let's see. And finally we get to okay. And so if I'd been doing that all along, I would have seen that this was using year index instead of month index. I might have still blipped over it, but at least this way it's a little clearer. So let's try that. One failed, one passed. Okay, good. we're making progress. So actually I can get rid of this now. So notice it was an error when I gave it bad input and it didn't return an error. And that's the way you test this, is this with pytest.raises. It says something in this block of code must return a date format error, or else this will raise a test error to say the test failed. Okay? So now we're going to test day of year. Let's see. Month days equals Feb. We're going to say 28, but we're going to have a special case for that, right? March. Does anybody know how many days March has? I don't. But when we talk about getting to know your tool, my editor happens to have this little calendar function. And so it'll tell me that March has 31 days. April has, and I need to go down one, here we go. So April has 30. May has 31. And I'm not used to inputting dictionaries, so I'm doing the punctuation wrong. So what I should do is use my editor to say, well, let's just do June 30, July, I know that's got 31, August, I know that's got 31, September's got 30. For some reason I know the end of the year, but not the beginning of the year. We don't really need to know the number of days in December, but that's okay. We'll use it that way anyway. So now we'll use some editor magic to turn these into strings, or into the correct form. And so is there a way to make your editor do that? I think there is. Maybe you could learn how to do it. Okay, so that's going to give me how many days are in each month. So first I need to say if date list, and I want to say month index. So I need to make these indices globals up here, don't I? And notice that I've got them all in caps. That means that they're constants. I don't expect them to change ever. Okay. Okay, there we go. So that's why I put them in all caps. It's just a convention, but for me that means these are constants. They're never going to change. So I come down here and I say, oops, what did I just do? Okay. If date lists of month index not in month days, raise date date value errors. What this one's supposed to, yeah, that says it up in my documentation string up there. Raise date value error, bad month, date list sub month index. There we go. Okay. Oh, I do need days in December because I've got to say if date list sub date index so date list, so day index. So if that's greater than month days sub date list sub month index, so that means if I've input a number which has more than the number of days in this month, I should raise an error, right? Did I check that in my errors? I didn't. So we've got to add that to my error list here. Let's see, so this is 32 August 2027. And we really ought to check the corner case, because there's a weird case in here, right? 29 February, and I can't say 2028 because that's a leap year, isn't it? Yes, it is. So I'll have to jump to 2029. Oh, this is the wrong place to be doing that. Was somebody going to point out to me I was fixing the wrong test? It's this one here. Okay. So I did test 32 Jan, but I didn't test 29 February 2024. Can't use, so I got to use 2025 because that's a special case, right? So, okay, so I've checked here, raise date value error. Let's date too high for month. And see, date list sub month index. Okay. So now we need to check for leap year. This is kind of painful because I'm going to have to check for leap year twice. I need to check for if date list sub day index, actually let's month index equals Feb and date list sub year index modulus 4 equals 0. That's the definition of a leap year, except for one case, but we'll ignore that for a moment. And date list sub day index greater than $29. Raise date value error, but that makes me realize the previous test was wrong. Date too high for month. So this is So this needs one more condition. It needs to be and date list not equal to February. Oh, come on. Date list sub month index. This is complicated. Not equal to February, or date list sub year index modulus 4 not equal to 0. Let's see. There's something about that I didn't like. Oh, I need to parenthesize these so that my operator precedence works. Okay, so if we have more days than are in the month and it's not February, or it's, let's see, or it's not a leap year, then this is, otherwise we have to check for, so I really ought to simplify this, shouldn't I? Yeah, this, so let's try this. If date list sub month index equals Feb and date list sub month index or year index modulus 4 equals 0. So that's the special case for a leap year. Now we can say if date list sub day index greater than 29, raise date value error date list sub month index. Then we can just say this is true for every other case. So now we can just say, actually we're going to use, which suggests I could have further simplified the logic, but I think this is a little clearer. Let's add some comments here. Special case of February in leap year. Number of days in any other month. Okay. I actually don't need to worry about the year less than 100 because any century is divisible by 4. Well, I guess I ought to say it just so. Let's say if year is less than 2000 and not year, it's date list sub year index less than 2000 and date list sub year index greater than date value error bad year, date list, sub-year index. Okay, maybe that's not a great test, and we didn't actually check that one over here. So we need to add in another test here. 5 April year 101. Yeah, that's not great because it would also fail for oops. That's why it's got a squiggly there. So it'll also fail for any years in the 1900. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know. That's not a great error. In fact, I probably should leave that out entirely because it doesn't really matter what year it is. They can specify any year. So we'll get rid of that case and we'll get rid of that test. Okay, good. If you have an artificial condition, it's easiest to get rid of it. It doesn't matter what year it is. All right. So if we've gotten down to here, this means it looks like we've got a valid date. So now we have to say for month days in month days dot items. This was in your prepare material. Day of year. So I'm using a variable with the same name as the function. Not generally a great idea. So we'll call it return value. How's that sound? Oh, and that's not 0. That is date list sub day index. If month is not equal to date list sub month index, actually I'm going to have to break in this case. So if it is the month, we're going to break out of the loop. I forgot to put the colon there. That's why I didn't indent correctly. Else return value plus equals days. And then we'd better remember to return the return value. And if I've done everything correctly, this will pass, right? Well, one failed. 94 does not equal 95. So it says for April 24. So this thinks that should be 24. Thinks it should be 94. My test said it should be 95. So what's the right answer? So 31 plus 28 is 59. 90. But this is a leap year. Should be 91, 95. I forgot to take into account the leap year. We need a better way of dealing with February. What's the better way to do it? Now we're just going to have to elif. Oh, this is painful. Month equals Feb. There is a better way to do it, but it would introduce more confusion. And date list sub year index modulus 4 equals 0. Return value plus equals 29, else return value plus equals days. That's clumsy. Alright, let's see what happens there. Let's get rid of our calendar too, just for sake of clarity here. Alright, let's try this. List object is not callable. That's on line 86. Because I put parens instead of squares. That's what that weird error means. Since I see it there as well, we'll just correct it there. Alright, let's try it again. Did not raise day of year, date value. Okay, so all of these passed, but we failed one of these. So I'll bet it's the last one. What do you think? Let's just see what happens if we take that out and run it. Nope. Doesn't mean that that one would pass, but it means that that wasn't the first one that failed. Oh, this case is wrong. I don't remember why I left that in. Alright, so let's try that. Look at that. It passed. Wow. So, that means that although I haven't typed a single case here, I'm pretty confident that my program works correctly because it passed these tests. And so now if I want to, I can write a main that says date list equals get date day of let's I don't really want to say day of year. I really should call that get day of year. Alright. Because your functions are supposed to be named with a verb, right? And I don't always do that. So over here now we have to say same thing. From day of year, get day of year, test get day of year, assert get day of year, get day of year. Okay, so first we rerun our test to see if I broke anything. Okay, that passed. Now over here I can say day of year equals get day of year date list. Print the day of the year for guess it would have been nice if I'd had the string, wouldn't it have been? Oh well. Is day of year. And so now if I come down here and I say day of year, please enter year. So it's 11 August 1958 is 223. Or if I say August 11th 1958, it says 223. Excellent. How about that? And do I know that's my birth date, incidentally. Do I know that 223 is the right answer? Well, I don't know off the top of my head, but because I've run this test, I'm very confident that that is the correct answer. And in fact, if we look here, so the 8th was 221, 9, 10, 11, 223. This was a leap year. I was not born in a leap year, so the number's off by 1. Okay, all right. Well, if you watched that long with me, thank you very much. Let's try one other thing. And this is what we do when we're going to handle exceptions. Except, let's do a date value error as DVE. Print error DVE. And I need to put my F there. So, and this won't change my test at all because I didn't touch anything that's being tested. But if I do this, so if I say 45 January 2021, I get this error, date too high for month, January. And that may not be the greatest error message. But this is the value of this variable now. So think about what you might be able to do with that value if you wanted to print a more meaningful error message. Okay? That's just a hint for those who want to go above and beyond. All right, thanks for watching, and hope this helped.